Okay. I guess we are good to continue. Okay. Uh, Welcome everyone in this session. In this session is related to the why the automation knowledge is needed for the project managers. This session is helpful to the project managers to master the technical who are in the technical role and who are the Q as well. So definitely this project manager, this presentation would be helpful to those people. Hi, I'm just Singh. I have been working with Excellent for last 8 years. So my initial role was quality assurance, and I have around 8 years of experience as a quality assurance as well as good experience in automation. And then after in last couple of years, I have switched my career from QA to PM, and now I'm working as a project manager here at Excellent. Hi, this is the hi from Excellent. Basically, we are a remote organization with 100 plus people, and our core strength is Drupal, and we are working right now. Our the core strength is going along, and we have a good contribution in Drupal community. So this is the one of the live example. I'm participating as a project manager in terms of Drupal community. So that is it. This is the agenda in this presentation. So first of all, we'll discuss like why the test automation is needed, and there are the couple of characters which I have already introduced in this session. One is Bob, one is Mary. Bob, which is who is not familiar with the automation, and the Mary who is familiar with the automation. Then let's see what kind of benefits Mary have and what kind of challenges Bob is facing right now. And we'll discuss briefly in the further slides. How to manage the automation backlog. So in the further slides, I'll explain you how to manage it, what are the ways in order to manage that, what is the format to manage the automation backlog, and how the test automation reporting system works. In the further slides, let's continue with the first one. The first one is the why the test automation is needed. The first one is what are the benefits of using it. So there are the many benefits. If you have a good understanding on the automation stuff, then definitely you will get the faster feedback from the stakeholders or the internal stakeholders. Accelerated results will be there, the reduce the business expenses as well, testing efficiencies improvements, faster time to time market, and improvement on the efficiency point of view or the security point of view. So these are the things kind of benefits if you have the knowledge of the automation. How to reduce the dependency. Let's suppose if a person is already familiar about the automation, the Q automation, I would like to rephrase it as a Q automation. So then definitely the dependency on other people like the technical architect or the QA engineer, so that will be reduced. A project manager, it is not necessarily like project manager is supposed to understand the coding factor. A project manager is capable enough in order to understand the basics of the automation. Then definitely uh, uh, he would be able to reduce the dependency. There are many examples which I can present. Let's suppose if a project manager has a basic understanding, at least he can guide the other person in terms of directory architecture. He can share the format reports with the clients, the further stakeholders, without having the dependency on the Q people. So these are the kind of examples. And in the further slides, once we'll discuss the Mary and Bob's character, there I'll share more examples there as well. Think out of box. This is one of the good example which I've just mentioned here. If the person is having the automation knowledge, then definitely that is a kind of positive factor which will comes like addition in the resume. So the many I won't say the technical. I would say the familiarity with the QA automation would be increased. The other thing is that the person would be able to help the others as well in terms of the backfilling or giving the knowledge sharing to the other team members in the absence of the specific QA team member. And then after moving ahead, Bob and Mary. So Bob, who is working as a project manager in a good reputed company, and he is working a great job. He has a good number of experience, but he is not familiar about the QA automation stuff. When I said familiar, it's kind of basics of the QA automation. On other side, the Mary, who is also playing the same role which Bob is playing, like kind of project manager, and she has the basics of the key automation. And in the further slides, we will discuss the how the Bob is facing the kind of challenges while working as a project manager, and how what kind of benefits Mary would have once a person has the familiarity with the automation stuff. So, uh, okay, the first one is the dependency. Uh, if Bob is not familiar with the automation, then there would be a dependency on others. Let's suppose if a client has provided the task, then definitely Bob will be reaching out to the another person, kind of QA team member or the technical architect, in order to help him, in order to understand the client requirements as well, in order to deal with the client query, and in order to respond with that. So based upon that, like I would say, like there's a complete dependency on other people. And in order to like in the further slides, like we'll see what kind of benefits the Mary would have, but definitely the dependency will resolve in that case. But here the Bob is facing the dependency on others. Second point is less effective team collaboration. The basically the collaboration is a challenge for any product development group. The developers, the test automation, the technical architects. That is the kind of group where these kind of things were managed. The problem is more secure in terms of technical point of view, where whenever the team collaboration is working, then definitely the Bob won't be able to contribute or won't be able to facilitate those meetings where the effective team collaboration is needed in terms of QA planning and other things. Basically wherever the QA needs some work in terms of automation, he can do the independently without having the dependency on others. But on the other side, the Bob will face the challenges where the less effective team collaboration kind of example will be represented. Moving on to the next one, which is challenges while deciding the best testing approach. So when possible, this is the one kind of challenge which Bob is facing, where the whenever the possible, it's always best to prioritize the meeting, the challenges before buying a new test automation tool. You might acquire the good tools in order to save some money from the organization perspective. Another side, if you have already worked or already familiar with those tools which are the kind of cost effective, plus also giving the benefits to you and to your organization, then definitely those tools could be helpful. If you are not familiar with the choosing the right tool during the start of the project, definitely it will a kind of waste of money. And if the tool is not effective to that specific project, definitely that tool kind of wastes for, and whatever the efforts which you have already spent in order to implement that tool, so those efforts will also be wasted. Moving ahead, uh, evaluating and choosing the good tools. So tool evaluation can seem the unachievable for the various reasons. There are the many reasons where this can be unachievable. The first one is kind of the lack of expertise needed to make the most capability of the specific tool. The indefinite knowledge or whether it has been exists in the system or meet the specific requirements of the client or the stakeholders or not. Other than that, the misconception where leads to the desire for that tool that is not available in the market. A favorite tool that doesn't seem to be full test coverage, because some tools provide the partial coverage and some tools provide the full coverage. If you are not familiar with the tool specific, then definitely some tools will provide the less coverage in terms of test point of view. The last but not the least, the tool cost exceed the team budget as well. because as I specifically mentioned that some tools are very costly and some tools are very cost effective. So if you are not choosy in terms of tool selection, then definitely it will not be worthy during the start and during the end of the project, because it will go beyond to your budget as well. The next one is training during the backfill. So Bob, who is not familiar with the automation, so definitely won't be able to backfill the other team member, or won't be able to train other team member in the absence of the any other QA team member who is on leave, won't be able to backfill the other team member, won't be able to provide the training to that team member, or won't be able to share the knowledge to that specific team member who is just joined in the project. So that is a kind of also a negative point from the list. The next point is significant capital investment. In nearly all the cases, the initial phases of the test automation comes with some cost, and since it requires analysis, design, planning for the implementation, if the choice is made go with the free or a kind of low cost selection of the tools, then definitely those will also be not worthy, because sometimes open source tools will not provide you the full functionality which the full test coverage tools will provide. So definitely that is also a negative point if bob Bob is already facing this kind of negativity when he has the not familiarity with the key automation. Next, they won't be able to facilitate the calls like the estimation, planning, prioritization for the automation. Here I'm just specific to the key automation only, not kind of the project estimation, the sprint plannings and other things, only related to the key automation. Why I'm asking this, because I can give you one example so you will get some more familiar with the workflow. First one is, let's suppose if a project came in and then after we are ready to give the estimation, we are ready to do the QA planning, the prioritization, and for the automation. Then definitely Bob's supposed to reach out to the QA team member, or Bob's supposed to reach out to the specific technical architect who has a uh, good knowledge about this automation. So this because uh, even the estimation point of view, like let's suppose if there is a one functionality called search, and there are the couple of features kind of search is not a kind of simple. I can give you one more example called login. In some forms where the Google captcha is there, in some forms the Google captcha is not there and user can do the login directly. So if the Bob is not familiar, like kind of simple or the complex functionality, because sometimes Google captcha won't be able to automate, and the person should be able to understand that if the Google captcha is there, then this is called a complex thing which is not easy to bypass. On the other side, if a person has the good knowledge of like basic knowledge of the automation, then definitely the time estimation and planning would be more effective, and that is it in this example. Last but not the least, the difficult to understand the automation QA empathy. Let's suppose if a person, QA automation person is stuck at some place and he is seeking some help, and but the still we are missing that the deadlines or the timelines. So in that case, the project manager will reach out or chase to that person in order to fulfill that task on time. But still he is stuck at some point. But here the Bob will not be able to help him because he is not aware or not familiar about the workflow or the basics where he is stuck. Sometimes a single minor thing can help the other person as well, because sometimes a person uh, not kind of can say intentionally but unintentionally missing some kind of special characters. So if a project man or Bob has some basic understanding, then definitely he would be able to help or understand the QA empathy, and can help to that person in order to review the things which he has already written so far. This is the Bob story where he's facing a lot of challenges. If he is not familiar about the queue automation. Moving ahead, let's see the flip side of the story where we will discuss the Mary story. The first thing is easily understand which kind of automation demand in the project. The Mary who is familiar about the automation process can help to identify the need of automation in the project. At least Mary can identify if there is a need or not, uh, uh, there is a need for automation or not in the project. If there is a need, definitely she would be able to identify and which kind of automation need which we need to implement. There are multiple automation processes are there, kind of visual regression test cases, functional testing, and many other the responsive point of view, so many other testing techniques are there. So if Mary is bit familiar about the workflow, then definitely she would be able to guide. Here we do not need the functional testing, here we need the visual regression testing, which will fulfill the requirements. Next one is complex and the simple feature difference understanding. So that is a very basic thing which I just mentioned here, because I've already given one example before in the past slide where let's take a example again. There is a login, and then after the sign up, the captcha is there. So if there is only two fields are there, username, password, and the sign in button, then definitely this is a very simple feature which can be automated easily. And other side, like if there is a captcha, then definitely it will be very complex task in order to bypass the captcha. So that will be considered as a complex thing. So the basic understanding can fulfill your requirement in order to understand the difference in between the complex as well as the simple feature understanding. Okay. Aware of the process to set up the user stories for the automation tickets. So Mary is familiar about the automation process, like which technique or which technology which we need to implement in the project, and can easily set up the user stories in the system. Because uh, in the further slide, I'll explain you how the user stories can be managed. If you have the proper plan in the Excel sheet or in the any project management tool, definitely it will be helpful. It's kind of benefit to Mary, like because she is aware about the workflow and she can contribute in terms of estimation, in terms of story planning, in terms of prioritization as well. In the further slide, I'll explain you how the user stories or the backlog can be managed from the backend. So let's discuss in the next slide. Next point is like what can be automated. So this is a very good concept. Like simple basic workflow understanding would be sufficient uh, in order to understand in the system what can be automated and what cannot be automated. In the next point, like we'll discuss like what cannot be, but at least a person who is familiar, Mary, who is familiar about the automation, then definitely she will let you know like these functionality can be automated and these functionality cannot be automated. If there is a need of those specific functionality to be automated or not, so that can also be suggested, because sometimes there are some basic uh, uh, static things are there which where we do not need the automation, then definitely those suggestions can be helpful while prioritizing these things. When cannot be automated? So that is a very good question. So there are many situations where you realize that the automation testing must be done. uh, the first point would be to prioritize the speed and efficiency. The second point would be to increase the quality and decrease the cost. So these are the things which understand that like what when we supposed to automate the system. The last but not the least, the what cannot be automated. So there are the many situations where you realize the automation testing must be done, but uh, what must not be done, because there are the things which you supposed to understand that what cannot be automated. And my understanding point of view is that uh, if you have the list of 10 features, and then after you'll get to know these are the priority item, you will prioritize it kind of yes no yes no. It means at least you have the complete or kind of good understanding, like you can prioritize the item what cannot be automated and what can be automated. The static testing where the automation is not ready, so that cannot be automated. And this is the one example which I've shared in this slide. So this is a story where Mary is getting the benefits. If she has the basics understanding of the key automation, she can unblock other team members. She can work independently. I can say it is not kind of 100% of independency, but the point is she can reduce the dependency on others. And this is the story behind that. Like what kind of benefits are there for the Mary, and what kind of challenges for the Bob. Okay. Here in this slide, like we'll discuss like how to manage the backlog. First thing is classify the list of features in the Excel sheet or the Jira board. So that is the one thing, one good thing. If you have an Excel sheet where you have listed down all the features, or if you are using any project management tool called Jira or any other board, then you can use that, create the tickets or create the list of tickets. And then after you can identify the list of features which can be automated or which cannot be automated. In the next slide, I have a one screenshot where I'll give you one example like how it can be managed in the backend system. Validate which test cases can be or cannot be automated, because there are many cases where we identify that like these are the priority items, but while implementing the automation, then we get to know that like for this one we do not require to write the test cases, but for the other functionality are the on the priority and on the risk areas, then definitely those test cases are needed. But for the static ones, I don't think so that would be much needed, but yes, it is required if can be moved forward. Okay. Once you have already listed down all the items in the Excel sheet or the Jira board, and then after get it approved from the technical architect or the relevant stakeholder who is aware about the workflow or aware about the testing process, or it can also be validated by the product owner as well. Because at least you have already identified those items which can be automated in the system. Create the automation. Once the approval is there, then after you can create the tickets in the system, and then after you start adding the time estimation and the priority based upon the sprint. Set the story points for each backlog ticket, so that we have already discussed. uh, Based upon the priority, you need to set the priority kind of P1, P2, and P3, like kind of highest, high, and medium. So, like kind of the high risk areas where as per the client requirement, we need to set the priority high. If there are very low priority item, which where the severity and the priority is very low, then we can mark it as a medium priority and set the prioritization accordingly. This is the format to manage the backlog. In the first column, you can see that we have added the sprints, which item we are going to pick up in this sprint. Second thing is which is the Jira ticket number. Third one is the description of the ticket. Fourth column is can automate or not. Here you're supposed to specify like yes, no. Then after because that is the reason why I was asking in the previous slide to list down all the features first. Then after you'll get to know this feature can be tested in the automation process or not. So at least the basic understanding of this kind of workflow will give you more understanding about the process, like how it can be or cannot be automated. Next column is the functionality and the criticality. You're supposed to specify this prioritization as per the client requirement, because sometimes in a one website like where the client was saying like donation form is a very high priority item for me, so we can mark though that donation form functionality on the high mark, and then after the other functionality based upon the other requirements. Status, you can see our marked was already as a done, in progress, not applicable, or the deferred. So in some cases, like whenever we were trying to implement the cases, then we get to know that this functionality is deferred. So we can reduce that, like we have already marked as deferred in cases where the API, third-party APIs are used in the system. and then that is the reason we have marked as not applicable. Third party API library, kind of one example which I just shared with you. The browser coverage. So browser coverage basically use it all covers up in the client requirement, because let's suppose if you are using the visual regression test cases, then definitely you're supposed to ask from the client which browser they're supposed to target. Like, because sometimes client said like, oh, target that browser which has the good number of traffic, then we supposed to target based upon the highest number of traffic in the system. So these are the kind of relevant examples. The Chrome, Firefox, and sometimes we're supposed to target the both. So it's a live example for that. Location, whatever the folder which you have already used in the system. So it's a, when I said folder, it's a kind of directory structure which QA has used in the system, so that in case if a person, the Mary who is already familiar about that, if aware about the directory structure in which folder the QA has already added the test cases, then definitely she can point that specific folder to the new person or the backfiller, and would be helpful to him or her in order to review those specific folders only in order to review the requirement. This is the one example of the automation test report. If Mary who is aware about the process and can generate the test reports by his own, and she do not need any QA person or technical architect to help her, she can generate these kind of reports. It's a very easy to generate that. It's just kind of one command or taken from the code system as well. But this doesn't require any code understanding or the syntax understanding. This requires some basics understanding. Then after you'll be able to generate the report. Here in this report, you can see that there are three test cases are there. First feature, two scenarios, and four steps. So basically, in a scenario, how many tests are passed? Passed are in the green, and the field are in the red. Uh, I'm again saying this is a one example. Whatever the tool you are using in your system, make sure at least you have some basic understanding how to generate the report, how to generate the HTML reports. Basically, this is HTML report, and like this way, you can share the reports with the client or the end stakeholders as well. These are the few key takeaways which I just mentioned here. The first one is project manager will become the conscious of the benefits of the automation, like what kind of benefits Mary's has, what kind of challenges Bob has. Why the project may need to understand the automation process, because there are many. It's a kind of addition to your resume, addition to your skill sets, and sorry. So if you have these kind of basic skills, then definitely those will be worthy whenever you are doing some estimation planning or the prioritization of the QA. Um, I've already explained you the Mary's and the Bob story, where the one project member was familiar about the workflow and another was the non familiar. What kind of benefits and the challenges both were having? How to manage the test backlog, how to generate the reports, how it works. So these are the kind of takeaways which you are going to prepare. You can reach out to me on the multiple social media platforms: Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, Drupal.org, Skype, and we have written I have written many blogs on this website as well, excellent.com, so you can review that. Okay, this is
Okay.
it from my side. Any question?
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe we'll add this to your page on the webcam site. And does anyone have any questions? No questions today?
No worries. If you do not have any question right now, so you can reach out to me directly and we can discuss there as well. in any social media platform, so we can discuss there as well. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today and great presentation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining this call, and have a great day.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye-bye.